It's like the best video ever.
This is crazy.
We got 25 minutes. We gotta go.
What's going on, family? Welcome to another week of Say That.
Say That. It is episode 5. Episode 5. We're doing this like the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. They count their episodes, so we're counting our episodes too.
And we're gonna do the same thing when we get to our 100th and so on and so on. We're definitely gonna have a lot of celebration. But we're excited to be on here with you guys today. I am about to. Well, actually, I'll wait for Janelle to ask the question, and then I'll put that 25 minutes on the clock.
All right.
What are we talking about today, Janelle?
Well, that is a great question, Winston. What is the big question today? Well, boys and girls, the big question today is: do you ever feel like quitting? Do you ever feel like quitting? 25 minutes on the clock. Here we go.
And boom. I'll let you lead it off.
All right. Well, I say yes. Of course. Of course I feel like quitting. That has come up several times in my business. I've heard it also said by many mentors of mine as well. Like, if you don't feel like quitting, then you're not doing this. Right? So to be very clear, that is a real thing. And so I guess the follow-up question to that is, well, when I do feel like quitting, what do I do to get back on track, right? Because it's like, I feel it's like that picture, you know, when the guy's like digging for the gold, and then like he's like an inch away, and then he's like, and then gives up and walks away, and you can see in the picture that he's like an inch away. And I just feel like whenever I feel like quitting, there's a couple of things I ask myself. One is, all right, well, if I'm not doing this, then what? Right? Like, what else would I be doing with my time? What else would I be doing in order to increase my financial portfolio, let's say? What else would I be doing to create relationships? Like, and you know, honestly, thinking about it, my life would be really, 1, boring, 2, extremely isolating or isolated. And I certainly wouldn't have made the relationships that I've made over the past. I don't think I would have grown as much as I've grown recently. And certainly the money wouldn't be the same, right? Like, all of those things, the answer basically is no, it wouldn't be the same. And it would definitely have a negative impact instead of a positive one. So understanding that that's what it is, then I usually try and take some form of action, whether it's reaching out to other people in my organization. Sometimes that's up, sometimes it's down, sometimes it's sideways, right? So sometimes it's a mentor, right? So reaching up to someone who's been there, done that, can help me out, help me navigate the feelings that I'm having. Sometimes it's to the people in my organization because I just want to see where they are. You know, maybe somebody else is feeling down. For me, that's where I find most of my fulfillment also. When I take the focus off of me and put it on other people, that's when I'm like in gear, I'm in action, I get my head in the game kind of a thing, and, you know, less wallowing in my own stuff. and then reaching sideways, right? So like, whether it's other entrepreneurs, other people within relationship marketing, from other organizations, not necessarily mine, who again are like in the trenches doing what they do and just kind of like getting some of their energy, hearing what they're doing. All of those things get me in the game. And I have to say, I mean, certainly recordings too. There's tons of audios and things like that. Certainly let us know. So if you ever feel like quitting, put it in the chat, let us know. If you can relate to any of the things that I have just said in terms of what I do to get myself back in the game, let us know that too. Or if it reminded you of something else that you do, let us know that too.
Absolutely. And I'm actually going to share, and then I love where you went with the question. But first, the fast one, absolutely. I would definitely say, just like you said, we've heard it from stage, we've heard it from, recordings, all these different things. Oh, if you haven't felt like quitting, you're not doing it right. But the thing that's funny about hearing that is, well, obviously the people who quit aren't right for quitting, right? So this is an idea of, well, we feel like, but we don't. But something that you said though did get me thinking just now about, yeah, we have all these solutions, but in my mind, I'm wondering how many people like us know of those things to go to, know and have the resources, and yet you still find yourself just not staying in the game. And something I really thought about and literally this just happened for me. So we're actively in network marketing. We actively are, representatives, or we represent a company, and I'm in a part of our, actually, I guess I call it our responsibilities in our businesses to go out and meet new people. And you said something, I actually want to get into that as well, about just the way your life would be if you had in fact quit. And I'll get back to that. But one of the things I came up against recently is in meeting new people and wanting to connect with different people. I'm doing it right now. Primarily, I do it at the gym. And I usually have really positive interactions with people. I go up, I give them advice about different things in regards to fitness. It fits into what I do as a profession, as a trainer. But this time I went up to a woman, which in itself can be incredibly challenging as a guy. Women just feel like, oh, this person's coming to hit on me. But no, I just went over to give her advice about something. But I'm going to say this, and then maybe you can speak about how you do this yourself. I'm talking to her, and there's very little back and forth going. And this is a woman I've seen months in now that she's been there, and she doesn't really talk to people. She keeps to herself. So one day, I don't know what it is. I'm sitting there on a machine. I'm like looking over, and I'm like, I'm going to talk to her. This happened this week. I'm like, I'm going to go talk to her. I go over, I'm giving her advice. Oh, blah, blah, blah. Do this. And she didn't say anything negative, but I left the interaction feeling like I just bombed. I don't know why. And I actually sat down and full transparency with you guys. I'm sitting there, and I honestly want to say that I felt like a child that had just been told to go on timeout. I just my demeanor changed. Like the guys that I was working out with were actually heading out. So I'm just like, and I'm the woman is like around the pole from me, and I'm kind of like hiding. And then I like get up, and I'm telling you that this interaction, and please understand, no one said anything negative. She didn't come. She took what I said, didn't make really much of a positive response or negative, but just kind of was like, all right, cool, thanks. And then I just took off. And I'm telling you that this messed up the rest of the at least 6 hours of my day. I came home, felt dejected, was like, how am I going to show my face here again tomorrow? I was like, I got to go home and take a nap now, which rarely ever happens. And then later on, and you shared a bunch of remedies. For me, later, it was just listening to some worship music. I got my energy back up. I did recognize that I knew I needed to change my state, and being all in bed and like something's wrong with me wasn't actually feeding what I wanted. I didn't want to feel that way, but I was doing things that were reinforcing this negative emotion that I was having. But what it really started having me think of, and the subsequent days, and again, like I said, I love that you actually went to this place of, well, what do you do when you feel that way? The subsequent days, I actually purposely said, I'm not going to have another day like this. I'm going to make sure when I saw her the following day, made eye contact. I wasn't going to play small like I did something wrong, because I knew that what happened the day before wasn't a negative, but I internalized it that way. And it really made me think about the business. It's me prospecting or me reaching out or whatever. And those no's, which is, if we go to the main question, why do you feel like quitting? Most often it's because when you reach out to, where if you just got started or if you've been in this for years, you reached out to somebody, and the reality is you probably didn't get the response that you wanted, right? And so we make it into this much bigger thing, and that's what I did. But I couldn't realize, I'm telling you, like I was standing outside of myself, making comments about how I was responding to what happened with this woman. And even though I was aware it was happening, there were like these, there were these internal habits, and I started listening to something else that talked about these tape tracks that run in our subconscious mind. My subconscious tape kicked in, and immediately it was, you got rejected, so here are the things now that we're going to play out. And it really made, like, I mean, even as I'm thinking deeper about this question today, it's, yeah, I know we haven't felt like quitting, or we haven't quit, but the idea of why we quit or why we would want to really is challenging, because you said it. What would we do to create other financial wealth? And I get it. You can go, well, I'll just go do another business, or I'll get into maybe go get a second job. And if you guys go back to episode 1 and listen to Janelle tell you about her story, the reality of it is most of us get into this business not because we want to have a second job. It's because we want some discretionary income. And in fact, what we're really trying to do is create more time. You know, the beautiful thing about network marketing is leverage. I remember when I learned that word, it was like, until you truly have leverage in your business. And like, as we're here, people in our organization are working. That actually is leverage. We've grown an organization large enough that it actually does allow us at this stage to do something like this, or give an hour or so of our time to do other endeavors. And that's what I was looking for. So the idea of quitting, it really does boggle my mind that we even get to a place where you would want to give up on that dream. But I do know that that is a place a lot of people, including ourselves, have definitely gotten to. And Jay, just to elaborate a little bit more on this idea of, well, what do I do when I'm in that place? How would you say, if you were to give, I mean, and imagine I'm in your organization, you're talking to me as somebody, like you said, sideline, you really care about me, and I just got that disappointing call. My best friend just said it's a scam. Oh, it's a pyramid. It's, whatever the reason is that they gave you. What would you say if there was like a one step, and then this is like Janelle's thing, next step. What would you say is the next thing that you would recommend that somebody doesn't? And I'll tell you what I think mine is.
That's a great question. Okay, so if it was somebody in my organization and they said like, oh, I feel like my first.
What do you do? Or what? Honestly, what do you do? First thing you do? Yeah.
The first thing I do is like, I can totally relate to that. Let me tell you about the time that my best friend, right, saw what I did, mm-hmm. and then basically poo-pooed on it and said like, no, wouldn't even be like a customer, right? It wasn't even about her joining the business. Like poo-pooed on my service as well. Mm-hmm. And it hurt. It really hurt. Somebody I was so close with, somebody that I had shared so many things with, couldn't see my vision, couldn't see what I saw.
Did it make you think about quitting? Sorry, did it make you feel like quitting though?
Well, I'm getting
okay.
So I felt supremely rejected. Like, I can't believe this person who I've done all these things with is like rejecting me. Like because I am so excited and so passionate about this, and basically rejected me. And here's what happened. In that moment of my life, as you heard in the first episode, when I first saw this, I was just like, I need to create a way in which I no longer have to choose between what's right for me and my family and what I can afford. Right? Like, that was the big. And so ultimately what happened was I was super hurt by what she said and that she rejected me. But the next thought was that her no doesn't help me get the money that I know that this can make me. Like, I have to keep going. Like, it doesn't stop with her. And I don't know if I think about that question a lot. And here's the other thing that happened. I also had someone that I could reach to. So my mentor at the time, I told her immediately what happened, and she was basically able to tell me, oh, my sister, same thing, totally rejected me. And look where I am now. I'm able to pay off this credit card bill. I was able to save this amount, right? So it was a combo. It was two things.
I love it. And yeah, I was wondering what we would do for bloopers today.
Right. So two things. One, it was my own internal, like, this is not gonna help me. Like, I'm hurt and I'm rejected, but it's not gonna help me with what I need to do, my why, if you will. And secondly, I immediately told my mentor, who was then able to relate to me and her own personal version of what I went through. And so it was like, here's somebody, me too, had been there before and still was successful. So it was like, all right, so those two things, I would say, if someone in my organization came up to me and just told me that their best friend, their mother, their father, their sister, their brother, whoever, one of the closest people to them totally shot them down, I would tell them my story, and then remind them, like, and just check in and be like, all right, so like, how are you feeling now? Like, is this it? Are you done? Or what was your why again? Okay. All right. So where do you want to, like, does that person telling you no and rejecting what you've decided to start, does that now change what you're going to do? Are you going to continue? Is you know what you got started for? What did you get started for? Is that enough to keep you going? Or is that it? Is this it for you? And that's okay. I'm at this point now too where I'd be okay with somebody answering that honestly. And if they were like, yeah, no, sorry, I'm out, I'd be like, I feel bad. There's a big part of me that just feels really bad for people. And I'm just like, oh, I'm so sorry that this is going to be the thing that stops you. But I also know that, like, if this is the thing that's going to stop you, it's always going to stop you. And so I can't push that. But
no, that's good. And you keep touching on things that are, I mean, just really, really great points. Because one of the things you said in terms of that internal question of, I felt rejected, and it, you know, in the beginning, we're not able to separate ourselves from our idea, you know, service, products, and such, because you were so in love with this thing that you can't separate it. And we've heard it said from stage, like, it's like a baby. It's like your brand new baby that you just, you know, that you just got, and someone comes to you and is like, what an ugly baby. Like, what the, right? And as much as we would want to say, and I think you touched on it so well last time about like that passion from the fish and the, you know, this excitement, but you could also point to the fact of how that could be like almost like a double-edged sword, where because you care so much, you do look at it, and I'm just going to use this term incorrectly. Why? Because it's not yours. It is your business, and those things you should definitely take ownership of and all that. But this isn't your idea. You are just the messenger. You aren't the message. And because I you know, this is something that we can still struggle with, especially when you really start to buy into wanting to be someone who affects culture, someone who affects, you know, people's mentality. Like you just said it, I don't want to have people walk away, because I know that on the other side of this, even through the journey, I would say, there's going to be so much life that comes to them. I don't care what the product or service is. I mean, one that's obviously legitimate and such, but on the other side of these trainings, on the other side of these rejections and these disappointments, I know that I'm better for it. But in the moment, like when you said that earlier, I really did think, wow, I don't do that. I immediately internalize it as, this is a me, similar to the gym thing. I was just giving advice, and the fact that the girl didn't recognize it, or even more importantly, respond the way I thought she should, which is how and then I'm basing this on expectations I've set up based on other people. All right. So other people have been incredibly responsive. Oh my God, thank you for offering this free advice. Da, 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 da. Here's my information, you know, and it helps me, you know, obviously, like I said, grow my business. But with this, because I didn't get what I thought I wanted, or didn't get what I wanted, I took it away. And guys, for one of the biggest growth areas for me in this business has been that, and I've actually been in businesses before where rejection is very much a part of it, but when it came to this, or when it comes to this, I'm telling you that this challenges me in a way that I've actually never had anything. And the thing that actually keeps me going, and Janelle gave you the ways that we can do it, things that keep me going is, I know that if somebody else can do this, so can I. And it's just a matter of, now, I'm not even going to say time, because you can spend your life trying to do something. If you're not putting the right, you know, intentions into it, I don't think it'll get you anywhere. And I don't just believe that you can just still show up to every training and just, it'll magically happen. Maybe that's, you know, law of attraction, all that kind of stuff is great. But I think there has to be an intention. And my intention is, I will get good at this. That's what it really comes down to for me. Absolutely. Why not you? Why, if I can watch other people, and if you've been to any company's event, I know this is a fact. I haven't been to all, but I know they're always honoring the person who's done the most. And by that, it may just be someone who represents an organization that we see honored, It is not, in fact, I mean, again, the beautiful thing about our industry is the person standing there is literally the representation of thousands, maybe millions of people, which is really cool in itself. But I also know that if that person is able to do that, then I am also able to do that. And for me, the thing that really keeps me going, even with what happened on Monday, is this idea that I know that I can get better. And it's funny because in other areas, and I can't remember who, no, not who, but what they used example as an example. But I think it was something either about dating or car accidents. And it was, we know people get into car accidents every single day, yet thousands of people, millions of people wake up every day and still go out driving. We know people get broken up with right now, this very second as we're on this show. Hundreds of people probably broke up while we've done this, you know what I mean? Like while we've been on the show. And yet people are going to go out and get into relationships again. And what blows my mind, and I'm asking myself this, is why is it that I can kind of mentally go through that, still going to struggle, I know it's going to be hard, and I'm going to come back into the game in that area. But with this, we are to that point. You get to a point. I don't know too many people who are like, yep, I dated that one kid when I was 3 years old or 5 or 10, and I am done. I am not dating anymore. This dating stuff's not for me. All right? We rarely meet people like that. So I just don't understand psychologically why we allow this to just take us out of the game. And I'll turn this back over to you, Jay. Last thing I'll say is, I remember one day seeing the first time I saw a video for the idea I jumped into. One of the things that stood out was a young lady on stage saying, because I never believed that something like this could happen for somebody like me. And that stood out in my mind. That just because that's what I'm fighting against. This idea that I can't. They can, but I can't. And we were talking about before we started today. I know that that's a lie, and my goal is just to beat that thought out of my subconscious.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. I got her thinking. That's good, guys. When you see her sitting there thinking, I hope you guys are in the same thing. And I mean, if you guys can relate to anything we've said so far, again, definitely drop this in the chat, guys, because this stuff is heavy. I mean, all of us, we want you to do this industry because we believe it's going to change your life. We absolutely believe that. But if you're going to get to this point, and we're telling you that you are, we're not sugarcoating it. We're telling you that, like they said, if you're doing it well, you're going to get to this place where you're going to be like, nah, not today. Nope, not another phone call, not another friend hanging up on me, not another, maybe it's gotten to like where it's gotten for some of us, not another post saying don't when Winston reaches out to you, don't answer. Like it's been that bad for people. Some people in our industry has gotten, told they can't even come back to the school they went to. I mean, my goodness, like it can get your country can write about you in a newspaper. This can get wild. And I know you're like, well, why would that happen? Because you're growing a massive organization, helping thousands of people. Like for doing the good thing, you will be challenged. You will be scrutinized, right?
100%. I really, as nonviolent as I am, I also, something about when you said, I'm just going to keep working on myself until that thought is beaten out of me or beaten out of my head.
Mm-hmm.
That is the thing that kind of stood out to me, because I consider myself someone who perseveres, someone who has a stick-to-itiveness about them. Like don't quit until the job is done kind of personality. And I think that's required.
Mm-hmm.
Like if there was a job application for this, like what we do,
Mm-hmm.
that would be like the highest thing on the list for me anyway. Like thinking about this.
No.
Like,
Amen. Tough skin.
If that is not a part of, if that's not your ethos, like if you're ready to give up really quickly on something, then need not apply.
That's good.
Need not apply.
Oh man, that's good. And we mean that in the most loving way. And for those who are like, well, how would I know that? our thing would be the fact that, to me, the fact that you're even questioning that, you're probably not that person. You know what I mean? You're honestly probably not that person. The fact that you're even wondering, well, what am I made of? You're actually, this is the right industry for you, because this industry will challenge you. And we mean this, again, in the most loving way, in the most positive ways, ultimately, that you will ever reflect on and look back on. Again, the last 7 years for myself, almost 6 for Jay now, or over 6 now, right? Has been some of the best times of in our lives. But it has not always felt that way, for sure. But we know that quitting is not the answer. And so, you know, definitely one of those things where we just want to be clear with you guys to say, this is definitely worth, the juice is worth the squeeze. As one of our mentors is always saying, the juice is certainly worth the squeeze. And it's juice you could share with your friends and family, which is always good.
I'm looking at the timer.
I was just about to say. Oh, awesome.
Awesome. I'm glad we're right on time.
I was just about to say, though, we have some exciting news. So, Jay, what's happening next week?
Oh! Next week, we're introducing our segment called Bench Talk, where we're actually going to have other people join us for the conversation to answer the big questions and give you guys real answers. So we're excited to have our first guest. Our first guest, should I name drop?
Well, let's save it. We do want to point out, though, that from the people who have been taking part, like Janelle's been posting up and talking about and actually commenting, we've been talking about Patreon, we've been talking about going over there, and we have somebody who actually followed through on that, and they got to choose the guest. So we'll announce it. We can definitely do it via social media, but you guys don't want to miss next week, where we're going to have our first guest on the show. We're incredibly excited. I already know it's going to be one of our best episodes, and we're only 5 episodes in. But the person who's going to speak is somebody who, you know, I've grown to know for a couple of years. I know that you guys have an amazing friendship, and I'm just excited to hear from them. I'm excited to learn, because I'm always interested in learning in this business, because I know that's where the growth is going to be. So next week is going to be fire, and Bench Talk is going to be, I know when we have Bench Talks, we're going to have a lot of great people coming on. So
I'm super excited. All right. So we are going to continue this conversation a little bit more. You know where to go. Just check in the description below so you know where to go to get the continued conversation. We both have a lot more to say on this topic. But in the meantime, as always, remember, you
deserve the good life. Say that. Have a great week, you guys. We'll see you guys.